Hi, Jennifer Warren here. I'm going to talk a little bit about some things I'm working on for a feature coming out in the fall, and also for a talk that I'm going to do at a university also in the fall. And so I'm having to obviously dig into the energy transition. And as many know, I've been chronicling the shale booms since roughly 2005-06, when the first gas shale boom became apparent, and really broke that story more in like 2008, by the time I could get a publisher to, work with me. And then also the oil shale boom in the United States, which really, came to the fore in like 2013, 2014. And there's a lot of politics right now with the energy transition. And there's also a lot of politicization of energy. And this is a problem because people are not understanding what's at stake. And what is at stake is that the United States is one of the largest hydrocarbon producers in the world, of both oil and gas. And this happened largely because of our shale booms. There's a lot of pushback trying to constrain the midstream space, that's pipelines and other types of facilities, with the thought that if you constrain the growth of hydrocarbons, that therefore, we will become greener and cleaner and use more renewables and other things. And that makes sense very superficially. But what happens in the meantime is that we don't have replaceable energy sources. And I think that was reflected with Germany when Russia invaded Ukraine, and Germany's pipeline supply was cut off from Russia, and they were using a lot of renewables. It very much exposed their flank, and now they're having to build all these floating LNG terminals and use coal and all that. So what happened was there was not replaceable sources of energy to replace the fossil fuel usage. And so we sort of see that maybe a little bit in the United States, because the midstream space has been really, called out and made kind of a scapegoat. And this has been going on for a long time. Some of them are looking to invest in other places around the world, and which makes sense because the global demand is there. There's a lot of countries, India, China, more developing countries, that want and need natural gas to power their economies, to increase their standards of living. It is the transition fuel. Natural gas is the transition fuel, whether we like it or not. We can't wish fossil fuels away. They contribute to so much of our standard of living. But what we can do is do it better, produce them more efficiently, use them more efficiently, produce them more cleanly. And I can think of no other country really in the world that can do that better than the United States. So in fact, by trying to constrain, certain aspects of that value chain in hydrocarbons, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. And also in terms of geopolitics, which is what I also will be talking about in the fall, we need to be in a leadership position, and our hydrocarbon production is a big part of that. And it's also a part of our innovation. With all the shale tech, I mean, we have learned so much, and it's only being enhanced. In fact, I heard about some new developments in Texas that points to this ability to produce hydrocarbons even more efficiently, and And that's just going to continue. And so I think the IRA legislation, while it does offer subsidies for a lot of different areas, and some of it also sort of assets and new types of energy mix that complement hydrocarbons, it also could in fact be inefficient with just wasting money, because those credits, many of them are uncapped. And I just had a conversation with an executive, and their approach to the energy transition is that, whatever they do, those IRRs have to compete with other business lines. That is just good business, and that is what a shareholder will demand. So in fact, the investment case for hydrocarbons and whatever energy sources emerge that can compete with that's where the growth will be. And it doesn't mean that we're going to have go growth anymore. I mean, that ship sailed with shale. All that high growth phase is done. Now it's in more of an incremental growth phase, and just, again, being efficient with resources, being efficient with capital. And the other issue with renewables that we've seen is that there are land use issues. Solar takes a lot of land. We know that there's issues with solar now. Those codes are going to get cracked in the future, I believe, with how to develop solar farms and wind farms where they're more efficient and they produce more. There are other energy sources emerging that also offer density. Wave technology is one of them, and I know some of the people working on that. And then again, I've mentioned that nuclear power is going to be a focus increasingly in the future. And again, there's going to be a lot of attention on how to do nuclear more efficiently and more cleanly with the waste. And that's one other code to be cracked. And I know that with the concerns about climate change and global warming, I absolutely acknowledge that. And I know it's a big factor for younger generations, including myself. And so I'm very mindful of, how we proceed, and that what we do now sets up the future. But we have to do this smart, and we have to sort of be incremental. Will there be breakthroughs? Sure, there will be. But we just have to keep working at it. And so I think that in the future, we're looking at these legacy systems. And I had this interview with Jay Hatfield, and he was talking about how hydrocarbons are going to be with us for 30, 50, 100 years. And some of it has to do with our legacy systems, but also there's a lot of new hydrocarbon sourced energy being developed around the world, and that's not stopping. And so even if we slow it down in this country, it's going to happen somewhere else. It is happening elsewhere. And many of these US firms want to be players in that space. And so it's called capital flight. And we don't, want all that capital leaving this country, because we do want to, keep our own infrastructure, well maintained and advancing. So things are changing, and I see new innovations in places that I did not expect. And I will just be, talking about that in the future. Thank you for your time.